Well, I want to welcome Megali to the call. I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this. And so, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I love it. All right. Well, we're excited to have you. So, what do you want to coach on?
Well, I would like to, like you always say, get a grip on the chocolate cake issue.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the issue. I was recently diagnosed technically as pre-diabetic because my hemoglobin A1C went up, I think, to 5.4 or 7, like just over I forget
Mhm.
what the marker is. And that is actually my biggest fear come true because I have a family history of diabetes. I am in healthcare. I have worked with podiatrists and have seen a number of amputations. And that is my worst fear come true. Because I have family members, my mom had it, everybody has it. I know it's an epidemic being in healthcare. I know that that's one of the top diagnoses and in the United States. And that alone causes everything else. I feel like it's a domino effect. Then you're going to go into kidney failure. And so because I am in the medical field, I know just enough to be terrified. And I recently kind of I've always been kind of health conscious and tried my best with food. But lately I have not been able to grasp, you know, um, something that keeps me on track. A part of it is I just lost my mother last month.
Mm,
From a heart attack, but she was 98, so it was expected. And I've been doing intermittent fasting for 2 years now. Have not lost any weight, but
okay.
resolved all my stomach issues.
Nice.
Okay, so that was good. Um, so oh, I'm sorry.
No,
There's
you're good.
there are flood alerts in New York City.
Oh,
So
how funny is that?
yeah, terrible flood alerts. But anyway, I'm sorry. So I I'm at a cross point where I need to get a hold of this. I'm going to be 65 this month in October.
You look great. I
So
was wondering how your mom had a was 98 and
yes,
delivered you because clearly you look like you're in your
98. Yeah, and she was active right up to
I
about a
love
year
it.
before she died.
Okay.
Um,
Well, you look great, sis. So fair enough.
well,
Okay.
the
Give
brain is
me
shot, but so
give
that's a whole
me an
other story.
example of like the last time. So you're doing intermittent fasting and you're seeing some results at least with how you feel. Give me an
Yeah.
example of when you're doing intermittent fasting but the chocolate cake comes up or whatever the food is. Can you give me
Right.
a specific example? Last Tuesday, this was going on, and I knew that I shouldn't have the cake, and I did it.
All right. So last week, well, this week, yeah, I went to eat. I hadn't eaten. I didn't, I know that there's a controversy about, well, at least if you follow Jen Stevens, clean fast as opposed to
Yeah,
having any. So I did have coffee in the morning
yeah.
with heavy cream
Hmm.
because in 2 years that I have tried to drink black coffee, I still hate black coffee.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
fine.
it's a mental thing with me. And I just feel like, you know what? I've had a rough 2 months. I'm having the coffee the way I want it. I want to enjoy it. So I had it with heavy cream and some brown sugar. So that was
Okay.
my first, setback was the sugar. I know that. But anyway,
Do
so
you always have brown sugar in your coffee, or is it usually just heavy cream and coffee?
no, if I have it my way, oh, it's definitely sugar. And I'm
How
Latin.
often are you
I'm
having it
Latin.
though?
Everything is sugar and carbs.
Right. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
How often are you having that?
Well, these last few weeks I've been off track. So I've been having it.
Okay, so it's been more. Okay, so what else happened?
And then I didn't eat all day and I was fine. I wasn't even hungry all day because I could go all day. Part of the reason I started intermittent fasting because I was so disgusted with food. I
Hmm.
had it. I had decision fatigue,
Hmm.
total food burnout. I just couldn't handle anymore what to eat, what not to eat, what to weigh, how many. I just was having a meltdown. And I went to my PCP for my annual and she said to me, you should try intermittent fasting. And I said, really, what's that? And then she said, read Jason Fung, The
Yeah.
Obesity. So I said, okay, I'm in. So I was happy just not to be able, just to not eat. I was happy with that. But anyway, so last week I did that. I had my coffee. I was fine. I was happy mentally because I had coffee, and that's really all I needed.
Yeah.
I didn't eat all day. So I went to eat around 6 o'clock, and I wasn't that hungry. So I had shrimp oreganata, but I had bread, which again, I shouldn't have had the bread. But then came the point of resistance was the restaurant I'm at has like the best caramel salt gelato.
Yeah.
It's like a comfort thing, And I was with my sister when we were talking about my mom, and I'm like, I'm having the gelato, right?
Yeah.
It's just like I'm having it, and I did have it. So now again, yesterday I didn't eat all day. I had the coffee, but I didn't eat all day, and I came home and I had some more comfort food, rice and beans left over with some salmon and some corn and some stuff. And I was fine, but I had to have a piece of chocolate
Mm-hmm.
at the end. And that's my problem is, especially after I eat, even if I have a meal that is good and is satisfying, I always feel like I need that little hit of something sweet.
Yeah. So
Now,
what did you feel when you were talking about your mom before the gelato?
I've been upset. My mom,
Yeah. Were you sad? Were you worried? Were you missing? What do you think you were feeling?
I think stressed and
Mm.
uh, a a sense of loss and void because we had just finished her apartment and had handed in the keys. And
Yeah.
that's sort of like, that's it. Like, there is no more going to my mother's. That's it. That chapter is ended. And, it's a lost feeling. So
Yeah.
I guess part of that was to comfort myself, right, and fill that void with something
Yeah.
that was comforting. And I guess that was the gelato.
Yeah. Tell me about the chocolate last night. You didn't eat and then you had dinner, but you had to have a couple pieces of chocolate afterwards
Yep. Two
for
pieces of
comfort.
chocolate.
You describe it as comfort,
I
right?
describe it as comfort.
What did you need comforted from yesterday?
I have been to the cemetery. I have been to
Mm.
the cemetery. And actually, I went to the cemetery to ask a question about the headstone. And it was like they had a whole basket of chocolates in
Yeah.
the sales office. I was like, my God,
You
this is
guys
a
are
sign.
brilliant.
I'm
You
like,
know
this
how to
is
make people happy.
I'm like, right. My mother wants me to have chocolate. Look, she put it right here in front of me. This is a sign from God.
I
Okay.
should have the chocolate. Yeah.
Right. Sorry. So of course, now I had not eaten all day basically. So I grabbed the two chocolates, but I know no, I should not have chocolate now because my sugar might just, I really
Right.
haven't eaten all day. And I know that you shouldn't, ideally, you should not open your window, if you will, after not
Yeah.
eating hours
Yeah.
with sugar and have my sugar levels go crazy. So I'm like, but I had to take it and put it in my bag. So when I came home, I knew I had chocolate. I mean, I don't buy chocolate because of that,
Yeah.
but I knew that I had chocolate in my bag. So I was like, oh, good. After I finish eating, I can have the chocolate now.
Sure. So, and was it just the two pieces of chocolate or was there
Yes.
more food? That was all you had?
No,
I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
ate real food, but you didn't, it's not like you went on a bender and ate a bunch of things after
No,
that.
no, 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 no.
Okay. So, what were you stressed about going to? Like, why? I guess you were, it sounds like whenever you miss your mom, you feel stressed and that makes you want to eat.
Yeah, but even before my mom, I
Yeah.
was that.
Yeah.
Um,
So, so here, the pattern that I'm hearing from you is when you're feeling stressed, your brain offers you that this is a way to remedy the stress.
right,
You eat the gelato. Your result is the stress isn't remedied. Whatever's, mom is still gone, right? You still
right,
miss mom, right?
right.
That's still there. That hasn't changed. All that you've reinforced is that when you feel stressed, you want to eat.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now or it'll be Chinese food, which is even
Yeah.
worse because yeah. And I'll say it too. But like I used to work with one of my bosses, she was Chinese, she is Chinese. And if she knew I was having a bad day, the next day she'd say to me, did you have pork fried rice? Did you have dumplings? And I'm like, this is sick. Like, people know by my mood what I'm gonna eat. And
That's hilarious.
I would say, I'm having pork fried rice and I'm having dumplings. Like, that was like my statement of defiance that I'm going to eat now what I want. So,
Yeah.
I know, or I think this is my interpretation, is that um, because I grew up eating, of course, a Hispanic diet, my comfort food is the carbs. My comfort food is rice and
Hmm.
beans. My comfort food is fried plantains. My comfort food is that. And so, like the other day, I did have rice and beans. And again, it's a connection to my mom. It's a connection to my past. It's a connection to what makes me feel like everything's okay. You're having rice and beans, everything's cool. So unfortunately for me, I think that ethnically and the way I've grown up puts me right into the category of the least desirable foods for the outcomes that I want to reach in terms of controlling, diabetes or, sugar levels.
So when you have that thought, my ethnicity essentially
Yes.
leads me to be in the worst category I can be. Is that kind of the nuts and bolts of how you feel about that, or what you think about it?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I mean, I know it a couple of ways. I'm also a medical interpreter in Spanish in
Okay.
healthcare. So when I go and do medical interpretations, um, I recognize in the patients me, because they say to me, I don't eat candy, I don't eat this. And then I'll say to the patient, how much rice and beans are you eating? How many plantains? What are the
Right.
carbs? I'm going down the thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that I am in a slight deficiency, even though intellectually I understand it, I can
Yeah.
rationalize, and I see the medical, a significance of what's happening. I guess when I get stressed, I just resort right back to my
Yeah.
roots.
Yeah. But when you have that, my ethnicity leaves me in this deficient space. How does that feel? Like if it's Tuesday, had to go by the cemetery, missing mom, wish she was here, just turned in our key. It's really over. This is happening. And you're feeling sad and you're having to kind of deal with this. And the stress kind of comes up because you'd really rather not deal with it. I'm sure there's 100 other things, watch a movie, whatever, to avoid it. And you feel the stress of that. And your brain's like, yeah, of course I want all the good stuff because all my ethnicity means that I'm going to want all the comfort food that's high in carbs. How
Yeah.
do you feel when you think that?
I feel a little defeated to
Yeah.
tell you. I feel a little defeated. Um and I don't know. I guess defeated would be the best word.
Yeah, it
Not
sounds
defeated.
like it.
I feel like I'm almost at a unavoidable disadvantage,
Yes.
which I shouldn't feel that way because I have the intellectual knowledge to
Yeah. So I'm
circumvent that.
gonna offer, so recognize whenever you're feeling that stress and your brain has the thought on, even if it's a really low level thing, like ethnically, to make myself feel better, ethnically, I was raised on these feel good foods that are making me sick. From that place of like defeated or even maybe a low level, like I don't have control here. There's something bigger than me controlling this. You're going to always turn to that food. Always, always. And you're going to give yourself the result that like, I can't manage stress without this food. And in your brain, it's like, yeah, ethnically, we can't do it. So what I want to offer to you, ethnic Germans are raised on potatoes and noodles, right? Ethnically American people are raised on the standard American diet, which is all the bad things we can get our hands on.
I
Everybody.
know.
I mean, what if it has nothing to do with your ethnicity and what you were raised on?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Do you believe that? Or you're like, no, 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 you don't get it. And I don't get it because clearly I'm not Latino, right? Like I was not raised that way. But I mean, is that where your brain goes like, no, you don't get it?
Um, no, it's not that you don't get it. It's that how do you change it, I guess, is
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you change You have to change that mindset.
Yes. What if part of the change of your mindset is your brain being like, this has nothing to do with my ethnicity. This has to do with being a human being. Is
That's true. I could see that because
is there less defeatedness there?
yeah, there is because right, if I think about Americans, Americans are every ethnicity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And we're sick, 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 right?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot people are like, but no, genetically, we do see higher rates of diabetes in Hispanic and Asians, and we see higher rates. And yeah, there may be some different genes playing a role that create that. Fine. But clearly, like, we don't have a world where Asians and Hispanics are still running around because they were like, I mean, like if they were genetically meant to die an early death from this disease, they would not have been here when we're dominating the planet as a species, right?
True.
Right. And just finding like, okay, maybe there is some truth to what I'm saying, but also there's a lot of agency that I have here. Does that feel real to you when we talk it
That
out?
does when you the way you explain it. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you, so curiously, what is the next thing that you need to do for your mom and her arrangements to, I mean, is everything done? No
Everything's
more
done.
meetings at the funeral home or no more meetings,
No,
I
no,
guess,
no.
at the
Every
cemetery?
yeah, everything is. I go to the cemetery because I feel better when I go, and it's close to my house. But everything is completely. Actually, this is the first weekend in a year and a half that I didn't have to go take care of my mom and do anything. So, um,
Wow.
yeah. So this is,
Okay.
you know, so
The
I have to
holidays
focus
are
on me.
coming.
I know
Yes.
the holidays are
So I want you
coming.
to get your head back to that space where you're missing your mom. I want you to let your brain go there. You're going to miss her, and the stress is going to come. Getting your body into that stress space because it's so much fun. I've got such good ideas. Let's go to that stress space. But feeling that stress in your body, when you have the thought that all the humans want to handle this feeling with comfort food versus this is something, my ethnicity leads me to want this comfort food. When you think all the humans want the comfort food, how does that feel for you? Does it feel less defeated or is it still like, "Ah, that's a
Yeah,
heavy
no, it
load?"
does. It does.
Does
I
it?
feel a sense of inclusion then.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
with the ethnicity, I'm sort of outside the circle. With
Yeah.
everybody feeling that way, then I'm in the circle. It's
Yeah.
still difficult, but like we're all together now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is probably like part of your jumping off spot, right? The other thing I love to ask people, um, when they've lost somebody that they clearly love deeply, and they are like wanting to bury the emotion with any food, Halloween's coming, so Halloween bags of candy are, going to be a frequent player in this.
That's
But
my birthday, Halloween.
oh, it's the best. I love that's your birthday.
I know, me too, because everyone gets to get dressed up. You don't have to buy gifts, you don't have to cook, and you get to be creative. So
Oh my gosh, it sounds amazing. I love it. Well,
fun.
so when we're feeling this heavy feeling, whether it be sadness or missing or wanting or whatever it is, and we want to resist that feeling, my question, and so we turn to the candy because we're like, I'm sure if I eat enough of this candy, I won't feel that way. I'll feel happy, right? And then my question is like, why are we looking for happiness when we're thinking about this thing that sincerely and authentically makes us feel sad? Why is that something?
Now, why is
Why is that?
that?
Yeah. What do you
Because
think about what is it that causes the stress about that feeling of sadness with your mother?
um well, I mean the finality of it and the fact that there's just this void feeling of not
Mhm.
knowing. I mean, it's I'm 65 almost. I've always had my mother. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what life looks like without my mother. I'm starting to learn what that
Mm.
looks like. So it's a scary, empty feeling.
Unknown. Yeah.
It's unknown.
It's unknown, and the one that you had to guide you before is not there anymore.
Exactly right. Good, bad. She's the one I would go
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
me, you know.
And so, is there anything that you can think of in your current power that's going to change that feeling?
I think my faith and the fact that my mom, believe it or not, was a very disciplined person.
Hmm.
And she had diabetes, but she was controlled.
Hmm.
But if she had a chocolate, she could take one piece of chocolate and cut it into four pieces and have one piece every day because she knew she had to watch her sugars. So she was a very, very disciplined person. She was all about health and about always trying to help yourself. So, I mean, I'm kind of trying to gather strength from her example, her living
Hmm.
example. She's the first one that would say, you have to help, you have to take care of yourself, you have to help yourself. You can't, because that's how she lived to be 98
Right. Yeah.
by being disciplined.
Yeah.
So I think that perhaps focusing on that as a pillar of strength, even though she's not here, but what the legacy she leaves of what she taught by example, of how she led her life, about how she was about food, didn't eat in excess. She didn't go to the gym to exercise, but she always walked right up to a
Yeah.
year, always walked, always took care of herself. So I'm hoping that my sister and I spoke about that, and I said, we got to take care of ourselves now because mommy's not here, and she would want us to, you know, kind of dig our heels in and live the best life of the time we have left, as she did. So I
Yeah.
think maybe focusing on that as an anchor, if you will,
Sure.
try
Sure.
and
But do you ever think that you're going to be happy that your mom's not there?
no.
Do you ever think you're going to even be like content? Like, I guess it's not that bad that mom's not here. Are you going to be neutral about it?
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think
Is
some
that a
losses in
problem?
life, yeah, I think some losses in life you never get over. I think you
Yeah.
learn how to deal with it differently on different days.
Mhm.
And you develop coping skills where you learn to hide it better on some
Yeah.
days than others. But I think it's too big a loss. I think some losses are just, I don't
Yeah.
believe that time heals everything. I don't believe that. But I
Yeah.
believe, but I believe we go on, and I believe we learn how
Absolutely.
to deal with it.
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat. I mean, like, I haven't lost my mother, but I lost my grandmother and it was huge. And it was 22 years ago. And there was a decade where I like got very heavy and sad every time I thought of that loss. But it felt so authentic. Like it was like I mean, like, why are we fighting that? Like, I'm really sad she's gone. Like, and I don't think I have to be happy that she's gone. Like, I can be sad. Over
True.
time,
Yeah.
I definitely morphed into she was too much fun to not smile whenever you think about her. So I definitely morphed, but I had to have, and it was a decade where I was heavy and sad whenever I thought of her.
Right.
And then it changed. So, but my point is that we want to not be like in our brain, somehow we offer ourselves, like, I don't want to be sad about it. And I'm like, well, what do you want to be about it? Like, I think you do want to be sad about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And since we want to be sad about it, we don't have to have the stress of trying to fight the sadness. And if we're not doing that, suddenly we don't need to throw the gelato or the chocolate on it, right?
That's true.
So
That's
yeah,
true.
so I think that that's I think that that's always at the heart of when we're like I guess it's the heart of any of our feelings is like, is this really a feeling I want to have? Because if it is something I want to have, there's no amount of gelato I'm going to throw on it that's going to make it go away,
Yeah. After
right?
the gelato, you still have the same
Yeah,
feeling.
you still miss her. Like, it's
Right.
not going away, right?
It's not
And
going
now you
away.
have to deal with the outcome of the gelato, right?
Right.
Yeah. So definitely, like, part is this idea that, and there is probably a connection to your heritage and your ethnicity and your family and what you guys as a family do, which involves plantains and it involves rice and beans. It involves all these foods that are higher in carb. And there might be a connection there that makes you feel more connected to your people. And there might be some benefit in finding other ways to connect to your sister, to your family, to bring that back that doesn't involve food that makes you sick. But definitely letting go of like, it's not just us. Any humans that would eat this food to manage their comfort is going to get diabetes. Also, any humans who eat pizza to do it are going to get diabetes. Any humans that eat ice cream and chocolate are going to get diabetes. And the reason that that is, of course, is because we release a huge surge of dopamine and we feel a little bit better for a brief moment after eating those foods, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, the stress, like deciding, like, why am I stressed? I always see stress as a friction. There's a two-way thing that's happening here. One way you have something pushing you this way, and either an expectation or a desire for a different way. And so there's this back and forth oscillation of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And it creates that stressful feeling. So when that stress comes up, I would get really curious about what do I actually want here, right? And if I want to feel sad, is that okay? Like, do I have space to feel sad in the way I want to that looks like crying? Maybe not, but maybe I can carve out an hour this evening to do that, right?
Right.
Managing that emotion by actually managing the emotion versus eating them, right?
Right.
But then seeing this also, this belief of it's harder for me because we like this food. It's harder for all the humans because all the humans like the foods that make them sick,
Yes.
right?
You're so right. Yeah, it's everybody. It's not just me.
Yeah. I love that. I can just see the lightness in your face as you like realize that. You're like, yeah, that's right. I
We're
love that.
all in a bad situation. I feel so much better to know we're all in a bad situation.
Yes, we all are. And it really is. It's like the food environment. Absolutely. It is a bad situation. And it's because the food environment is what it is. So, all right. Anything else you want to coach on, or is that helpful? Sometimes it's nice to have it all to kind of let it simmer a
Yeah,
little bit.
that is helpful. My other biggest struggle,
Mhm.
which even before my mom passed, I realized is that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just so disgusted with food.
Mhm.
And for the past year and a half, I haven't even cooked basically. So
Mm.
I ordered these factor meals now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've never had them,
And
but I've had people tell me about them.
they were very good, actually. A
Yeah.
smaller portion, so maybe you don't feel as full, which is okay. But maybe you could put like, well, I put rice the other day, shouldn't have, but I did. I added rice to it. But like if you had a salad with it or something, I mean, sometimes I'm just not in the headspace. I come home that I want to cook.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't want to cook, which is a problem, but I can when I get into a better headspace, which I'm sure will be soon in terms of getting myself into a routine, I don't consider it cooking, but I can certainly broil a piece of fish and have a vegetable, things like that. Um, so I when I think about food, I get that stresses me out. That's why
Oh,
I bought the factor meals.
yeah.
Why? Because it becomes a mind bang, the food. Like
Yeah.
what do I eat and how many, and there's so much.
Yes.
I mean, I'm always reading up on, I read Fast Feast Repeat. I've listened to the whole obesity code. Um, and so there's always this decision fatigue. What do I eat? So now when I eat, like, let's say I was having this factor meal that had like rice and cheese and I'm like, oh, I'm looking at it and what do I think? Hyperlipidemia, because I know. And the thing is that the medical field keeps changing their spiel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So eggs used to be horrible. Now, great,
Yes. Yes.
great antioxidants. Coffee could kill you. Now, good for Alzheimer's. So the doctors that
Yeah.
I've worked with, I go, you guys just change your mind every
Get
few
your
minutes.
crap
That's why we
together.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's why we don't know what to eat. So I do have high cholesterol. I've always had high cholesterol. My mother had high cholesterol too. And I really don't even eat enough to justify the cholesterol. But
It's
so
probably the insulin resistance driving the cholesterol up. Just, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm insulin resistant. Now
Hmm.
I need to lose a good, I want to
Okay.
say 40 pounds. I say 40 pounds
Okay.
because so the weight, and I've gotten very discouraged with and I know that the fasting is a tool. It is not guarantee weight loss for everyone.
Right. But
I
let's talk about why is the rice an option? Because the decision fatigue comes from believing that the rice is like maybe it's okay here. I don't know, maybe it's not okay here, but I think like maybe I need it here, but I don't know. But the eggs are bad, but the rice isn't. The decision fatigue comes from believing that the rice is okay.
Well, that's from believing, oh, it's from knowing that the rice is not okay.
But you believe that on some level it must be because it keeps showing up.
Well, just because I want it, not because I think
Right, right.
because I think it's good.
Yes, yes. So then it comes down to how often is it okay for you to eat foods that you want and you know aren't good for you?
How often?
Yeah. What do you think?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. That's the kind of ruler you're going to need to set for yourself. Decision fatigue happens because you keep making the decision over and over again.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes,
It's
because I'm struggling with
exhausting.
the same thing.
Yeah, bicep fatigue happens because we do bicep curls over and over and over again, right?
Right.
Decision fatigue happens because we keep making the decision over and over and over again. Okay. So deciding, make it, and this is where I teach planning our food to be such a powerful tool. Many people, I included, was like, no, a plan is merely like a kennel that keeps me trapped. Like it was so like, oh, didn't have decision. I had already made this plan. I didn't have any choices. It's so baloney. I don't even want it. I mean, my brain had all the pity party about making a plan. Making a plan is so powerful because it's made from the part of your brain that weighs the pros and the cons of what you're going to eat against what you want to create: weight loss, normal insulin functioning. Okay. It weighs the pros and the cons. If I have the rice, it's going to work against this. So I'm not going to put rice on the plan. And in the moment, you're not actually considering eating it because it's scheduled for tomorrow or the day after. Right. It's very it's very fact based. It's very like just data based. It's not like emotional based. And then when it gets time to execute the plan, our emotions get all up in there, being like, no, 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 you got to listen to me. This is not a good idea. And it tries to talk us into it. And if you're going from I made a plan, I've already made the decision, and I'm living that out, there is no problem. Like you don't get decision fatigue. It's when you're like, oh, maybe I should do it, but no, it wasn't on the plan, but I really want it. It's not on the plan, but I'm so hungry, but we didn't put it on the plan. It's this constant back and forth that is exhausting.
That makes perfect sense because about 6 years ago, I planned, I did food prep for the week, and there was no thinking about it because
And it
like,
was so
okay,
easy.
yeah, I mean, I was eating all day basically, like but I would like, okay, I'm having Greek yogurt with half a cup of blueberries and 1 tablespoon of chopped nuts. And that was my snack. So there was
Yeah,
no gelato. There was no, because that was it. It was packed. It was in my bag. I was eating that. So I can see where that is. But yeah, that's why I got the factor though, because I don't want a
yeah,
meal plan.
yeah,
Maybe I can
yeah.
meal plan around my factor meal.
Well, yeah, even if you meal plan, but that's where the whole like, I mean, I eat food that I like. I like the food that I eat. But I do have ice cream occasionally. My daughter and I will go out for ice cream together, or Christmas is coming and I will have all the things at Christmas. And my birthday is coming in December. I mean, like, December is just, I know January is a lot of fasting and a lot of food chatter in my brain because December's a lot of things that I just don't usually eat.
Right.
So I mean, like I do those things, but I very clearly know, like in my brain, it's like I don't want real sugar in my body except for in these time frames. I don't want to do that. And so the rest of the time, it's like it's just not an option.
Right. That
You're
makes
going to have
sense.
to set that for you. What
Right.
is it? Like how I want to have food. My birthday cake is never about being healthy. Like that's period, end of sentence. I'm not going to be a healthier soul because of my birthday cake, period,
Right.
end of sentence. I'm clearly having a piece of food and it has nothing to do with my health, right?
Right.
How
But you're
frequently do
conscious
I
of
want to
that.
have that? Yeah. How frequently do I want to do it?
Yeah, that makes sense. If you can
That's the
answer that
question you
question,
need to answer for yourself.
how often?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, a few months ago, I said, you know what? I should just avoid all carbs,
Hmm.
right? I should just bite the bullet,
Do
carbs
it.
are out. That's it. And I lost like 5 pounds, but
Hmm.
shortly thereafter, after about a week, I went on a complete binge.
Yeah. I
And
ate an entire cheesecake alone.
I just went like I had English muffins, I had like
Mhm.
anything that was carb I was eating. So I'm like, okay, this is not good
Yeah.
because now I got crazy. I mean, I ate more carbs than I would have normally eaten. If I would have had maybe one English muffin for the week, if I
Yeah.
thought to have an English muffin, but now I went like I just ate nonstop. So that's where also I'm like,
The difference when you weren't doing it is you had made a clear decision and somewhere you changed the decision, right? And it's all that happened. People, and we just don't, we don't see it that way. We don't hang it on that structure that way. We're just like, I don't know why I'm wanting it so badly. I always remind my clients, if there was $1 million on the table for you not to eat it, would you eat it? Almost everybody is like, hands down, no, right? It would be so easy. I wouldn't even I wouldn't even think about it.
right.
I mean, it's like so like, yes, you need to get to that space where you're not considering, I have made the decision that I will have rice with a meal on these times only. This is not part of that time. I'm not even thinking about it.
That's a great point because that's exactly what happened. My decision changed.
Yeah.
I decided now I was going to have the carbs, but I didn't
Yeah.
look at it that way. I looked at it as this
It's a bunch of bullshit. I went
overpowering
all that
force.
time without it. And now I'm going in, I'm doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I felt like I was possessed. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Curiously, why did you cut all the carbs?
Why?
Hmm.
Because I want to lose weight.
Hmm.
Because I know that the carbs are going to drive up my insulin. I feel I'm insulin resistant.
Hmm.
Um, so I felt, all right, you know what? You have to accept this. This is where you're at in your life right now. You cannot have carbs, period. You just can't. You have to accept
Why
you can't have
Yeah,
it.
why don't you want to live for the rest of your life without carbs? Like, what was the problem when you were like, you did it for a week, lost some weight, and then you stopped doing it? What was happening that made you want to do something different? Why was it a problem to keep doing it what you were doing?
I think because to some degree, food is entertainment and or enjoyment,
And you
right?
weren't getting
And
those things?
and I mean, I can have a piece of fish and broccoli, but I'm
Yeah.
not satisfied. So
Yes, not
felt
that
that I
part. Yeah.
deserved some enjoyment. And so the English
Yeah.
muffins were enjoyment. Like, why am I deprived? How come everyone else is eating that? How come I
Yes.
can't eat it? But then I try and rationalize it by saying, well, but now you are in your 60s now. This is your, and then life starts looking really depressing. Like, oh, I'm gonna be 60
Yes.
and I'm never gonna enjoy anything again.
Yes. So that is going to be part of your decision. A lot of times we feel either like, I want this goal and I can't seem to achieve it. I'm going to go all in and like I'm going to do something
Drastic.
drastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
sever. I'm always like, guys, we can lose 10, 20 pounds by severing off our left leg, but we don't want to live that way forever. So let's not do that. Right. So we make these big, drastic commitments. And then what we realize is that we don't really want to live our life for the rest of our life that way. So,
That's
and
true.
then of course we're like, well, that isn't working either. So we pendulum swing the other way, figuring out like what it is. Sometimes it's fear that drives women to make those really drastic decisions, but a lot of times it's just a lack of belief. Like, I don't believe it. I can't figure out any other way. So I guess I'm just going to do this thing. Figuring out whether you really want to do that thing is a very powerful part of that process, because we are grown ass women and we are not going to do shit that we don't want to do for the rest of our life. Period. End of sentence.
Right.
Right. And so that's what sounds like what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. My
So
Latin temper got the best of me, I think.
yeah, yeah. So
I'm a
I think
crazy
a
lady.
really helpful strategy for you is going to be to figure out how frequently you actually want that food in your life.
I think that makes sense because then I would feel that I have some control
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of everything else controlling me.
Yes,
I'm
that is so
controlling.
much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, to your point, where you know, um, I became a rebel then. Like, no one's going to tell me I can't eat. But
Yeah,
I
I
told
can
them,
eat whatever I want. I'm a grown
but
woman.
exactly. But I'm the one that made the rule. And then I'm like, what? What do you mean I can't eat carbs? Meanwhile,
Yeah.
like, I'm the one that said I wasn't going to eat it. So that does make sense about, me being able to make that decision so that I'm in control
Yeah.
and planning it
And
out.
like the recognition, like I am gonna want them, but it's just not time to have them.
Kind of like fasting. Yes, I'm going to eat, but it's not time now.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
of course I want. You don't argue when you get hungry and you're fasting, you're not like, no, I'm not gonna be hungry. I'm not gonna be no, you're like, of course I'm hungry. I haven't
Yeah.
eaten in 15
Right.
hours. Of
And
course I'm
you
hungry.
accept it, right? You accept that that's going to be part of, and then it just passes. And then you're like, yeah, I know it's okay because I'm going to eat like at 6. It's going to be okay. Question before I forget.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips at all for drinking black coffee?
I use only, I mean, like I did it using heavy cream and I didn't have any qualms about heavy cream. I mean, I certainly normalized my numbers and lost the weight that I wanted to lose just eating heavy
Using
cream and
heavy
black
cream,
coffee. Hmm.
but no
I
sugar.
didn't use any sugar and only 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of the heavy cream.
2 tablespoons of heavy cream. I could try
And
that.
then over time, I just weaned it down and then I just got really lazy. I stopped
You didn't
using
buy cream anymore.
it. I did.
Okay.
So I drink my coffee black now. I very rarely, very maybe a couple times a year have some cream in it. I still do enjoy the cream in it. I'm too lazy to have it all put together and do that. So sometimes lazy works in my favor. So
All
yeah,
right, I'm
I
going to try
did.
that. Yeah.
The heavy cream is not a problem. 2 tablespoons of the heavy cream is not a problem. I agree that there is this clean fasting, and I don't disagree that there's some benefits to that. Some people even say that any coffee is not part of a fast. And I'm like, well, you and I aren't going to see eye to eye because I'm not letting go of my coffee. So,
Yes, see, now I've read that also
mhm.
that then you dump your liver will dump
I've
glycogen and
heard
then
that, yeah, your body, instead of getting the break of the fast, it has to manage and process the caffeine in the coffee. And I'm willing to accept that. I always say, I always try to empower my clients. Like, you're in charge of your health. You get to decide what's healthy for you. If you can't do nutritional ketosis, then awesome. You don't have to do it. If you can't do intermittent fasting or long fasts, like 48-hour fasts, that's fine too. You get to decide what's healthy for you. For me, I'm always like, I don't do cold plunges. I don't do that cold therapy. If I die early, it's going to be because it's a solid no, thank you. I'm not doing the cold therapy. And I'm totally okay accepting that. Right.
right.
So it's kind of the same thing. Like, if coffee is going to do me in for my 2 cups in the morning, you know, then I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept that. But you
Yeah,
and I both know that's not what we see in the hospital.
into, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm again, you read all this stuff or whatever, but
Hmm.
the I mean, I had more than 2 tablespoons, so I will curtail that.
Hmm.
However, when I did have the coffee in the morning, my way, um, I was fine all day. Whereas when I've had black coffee with nothing in it, even though I'm fasting and it's not a dire hunger. Again, I think it's the thing that I was not satisfied in the morning by having my routine.
You were having, when you have the coffee with the sugar in it, you have the joy of the sugar.
Right,
And
right,
when you don't, your brain's like, we're not having the joy of the sugar.
right. But I
And
think
it won't.
I can do because I also like the creaminess. If I eat
Yeah.
the heavy cream, I think that that'll be good because then I was fine all day. It's not like I'm hungry. It's not like I'm thinking about food. And also my job now, I'm out on the road most of the
Hmm.
day. So I don't really, it's not convenient for me to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fast works for my lifestyle right now because I'm meeting with doctors all day long and I'm going to
Yeah.
different offices and I'm meeting with the chiefs and so I don't really have time to to eat. So I think that that works for my life, my work right now, my lifestyle right now.
Yeah.
So maybe if I could do that and I can think about, plan out to some extent, even with my factor meals, not add the rice, or say I'm going to add the rice only on
Only
Wednesday.
on this day. Only on, yeah. Yes. And only this much. Get real clear on that. Your brain will, as any good child does, really start making strong, strong cases for why you need it. And
I love when you say that in the podcast. Sometimes even because I can hear you saying, let's face it, we all know it's not.
yeah,
We all
it's
know
the
it's
inner child. It's our inner toddler with a marker trying to wreak havoc everywhere. Like, I know you want it. Yes. And it's okay. You're going to get glad. My grandmother, you're going to get glad in the same pants you got mad in. It's going to be all right, But
oh
yeah,
my God, I like that.
I do too.
That's a funny way to look at it. That's a funny way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
You just got to let
you,
it pass. Hmm. Yeah.
you got to let it pass like the fasting if you're hungry. But
Yeah. You're already doing this, by the way. I see that. Your brain's offering
really,
you reasons as to why it's not. That doesn't count. What I want is rice.
yeah,
So
I know. My,
you're already dealing with things that you want every
yeah,
day, and you're not you're not complying with the request. You're like, yeah, I get it, but we're not doing that. You're already practicing that every day.
yeah. And what I'm trying to get back into is exercise,
Hmm.
and running. I used to
Hmm.
run like 2 miles a day.
Hmm.
Um, it was rage running when I was going through my
Oh,
divorce. So
yeah. Yeah.
the only good thing that came out of that divorce is that I was very depressed at the time, and
Hmm.
I read that, exercise is a way of dealing with stress and releases endorphins. And I was like, I was on survival mode, like I'm going to fight
Yeah.
this fight, and whatever it takes for me to fight this fight, I'm doing it. And so I started running and I started working out and I got into the best shape and I felt good. So again, now that everything's through with my mom and I have time in the morning, I have a gym in my building, so no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can do that. I think that in retrospect, as I look back, of course, the things that have helped me, that's one of the things that has helped me. And I think to some degree it might help with the stress of the food and everything else, because I'll be a little more like, okay. And also because I feel like in the morning, I always do it only in the morning when I work out, because I feel like I've done something good for me and I've
Yeah.
started the day off on the right foot. So I'll be less tempted to get off course, because I'm like, no, you had a
Yes.
great workout. You want to just kind of hold on to that. So that's
Yeah.
my other thing that I'm going to,
And I think that you'd
my
get a lot
side.
of benefit from that. I really do. So, all
Yeah.
right. Anything else? Any other questions before we sign off? I'm so appreciative of you. I think that
Yeah. This
so
is,
many
oh,
women deal with the exact same thing that you're dealing with. And so, yeah.
yeah. No, this has been great. I really appreciate it. I love your podcasts. I think you just make a lot of sense. I resonated with you the minute I first heard you, and I'm like, oh, she's in healthcare. She loves shoes. She likes chocolate cake. That's my kind of lady. I'm gonna follow her.
I
She's
love it.
she's got the path to happiness here. She knows she's talking my language.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, the funny thing is that you're in Kansas and I'm in New York City. So
Well, I grew up in Chicago. I was like, we moved when I was a kid from Chicago to Kansas. So that's,
oh,
yeah, there's an edginess to my Midwestern niceness.
you know what? Oh my God. It's so true. And you know why? Because I mean, clearly I'm from New York and
Yeah.
clearly I'm a New Yorker. But I said, you know what? There's something about her. Like she cuts to the chase. She doesn't sugarcoat it. And that's a very New York thing. And I'm like, wow, but she's in Kansas. Like I've never been
They
to
do that
Kansas.
there? I don't
She
know.
doesn't. I said, people outside of New York are so polite. And so you notice it right away. I mean, you go to
Hmm.
Jersey, people are nice. And you're like, what's that about? When you're from New
Yeah.
York. So I'm like, but I noticed that I connected with you, but I noticed that also about you, that you didn't sugarcoat. And then I thought to myself, probably because she's in the medical field and they just give you, like, they just got to give you the facts. This is the treatment plan. This is the differential
Yeah.
diagnosis. And that's but now it makes sense that you came really from a big city.
Yeah. It's a big city thing. So.
Yes, you don't have time to be too nice, but you
Well,
are
thank
nice.
you.
Thank
Oh,
you
well, I
so much.
try some days. I don't know, talk to my kids, but no. I really appreciate you being on. I'm going to stop the recording. I'll be back next week with another podcast. I will see everybody then.